Like this video and subscribe, and this doggo will scare your enemies tonight. Today on Reddit Gems, people of Reddit who have encountered ghosts or other supernatural beings. What was your experience like? What happened? I can't believe I'm actually going to share this, but here goes. I was in college when my grandfather died. He simply fell to the ground in mid-sentence. The coroner said it was a burst aneurysm, and he was gone before he hit the ground. My grandmother called me that night and told me. I made arrangements to go home the next morning. I was in a fog of disbelief. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling for hours, alternatively feeling that numb fog and being overcome with grief. I heard a noise at the bedroom door, like someone had just stepped across the threshold, and rose up on my elbows to look, and there he stood. He was standing just inside the door, near the foot of my bed, his hands in his pockets, just looking at me with a kind smile. He didn't say anything at all, just stood there and smiled. When I sat up, he nodded. His smile got bigger, and that was it. He was gone, as though he had never been there. But after that, everything was different. Everything felt different. There was a sense of peace that stayed with me through the funeral, through the days after, when my whole family was falling apart. That image of him was etched in my mind so clearly that he might as well have been right there, standing right beside me. A few days after the funeral, my grandmother asked me to go through the bag of his personal effects that the hospital had given her. She needed his wallet for something, but she didn't feel capable of going through it herself yet. I opened up the bag and started pulling things out, and lo and behold, the clothes he was wearing the day he died were the same clothes he was wearing when I saw him in my bedroom doorway that night. Even down to that funny orange knit cap he wore when it was really cold outside. So, coincidence? Sure, it could be. My logical mind says that I saw him in those clothes many times, and it's entirely possible that when I thought of him that night, he was wearing them. It's also possible that I conjured up an image of him in my tired, grief-stricken state. Grief does some crazy things, but none of that explains the flood of peace that surrounded me and changed everything for a very long time after that. It's that feeling that convinces me he was there, checking on me, doing his best to take care of me. I'm absolutely certain of what I saw and felt. I lived in a house where all kinds of weird things would happen. I was in denial that the house was haunted, but here are a few things that happened while I lived there. My mother took care of the neighborhood kids since she was a stay-at-home mom. There were toys all over the house. I would often hear the toys turn on and off in the middle of the night. They made it difficult to sleep. It was common to hear our names called out to us when no one was around. Hasn't happened since. My radio would turn on and off for no reason. I don't mean the power, I mean the sound. It would turn on in the middle of the night and turn off. Once it turned on at the beginning of a song I really liked, only to turn off as soon as it ended. My dogs would stand at the entrance of rooms and bark at nothing. Literally nothing. They would even spin around acting aggressively. I would hear muffled voices through the speakers of my stereo. This was when the stereo was turned off. I could never make out what they were saying. Here's the best part. At night blue lights would fly around some of the rooms. They had no origin, no shape, just streaks of bright blue light that would fly all over the room. They seemed to have some level of intelligence, because they sometimes zipped right past us as if for fun. It was a very common occurrence. I've never experienced any of these things since we moved. I've said this about 5 times, so here's a 6th. Walking home from high school, girlfriend had been dead for 2 years. We had an amazing relationship and we connected on a level that I couldn't understand. I'm walking across a street, listening to music. Time stops and everything is blue. All I hear is her saying stop, don't take another step, and then time resumes. And a big fuck all box truck flies right in front of me at 60 miles per hour. I don't know where it came from, but I would have been dead that day. I've had a female voice wake me up every week for the past 3 months. See, I go to sleep around 10, and after I start drifting off, I hear a female voice talk to me. I always forget a few minutes later what she said, still don't understand what's going on.